come on over to the mat. We'll start, have your heels under your knees. We're gonna go into a bit of leg stretches to warm in. Knees are a little bit soft, tummy's in, and you're just gonna peel down. So let your chin feel heavy, hands feel heavy, knees are nice and soft. And just melt down to the ground. And check your foot position as well. Make sure your feet are pointing the same direction. Just make little notes of what's grabbing your attention, what's feeling stuck or achy, whatever it is, make a little note for it. And come all the way back up once you get to the ground. And then back up, shoulders back. And then again, peeling down, chin to your chest, nose to your chest, knees are soft, hands are heavy. When you get down as low as you can, grab your elbows, keep your hips really stable, and then we'll sway side to side to get that nice stretch in the lower back and hips. And just find your breath with it. You're breathing to one side, breathing to the other side. And we'll come back into the center. Let go of your elbows, come all the way back up to standing. And then we're going to take your left foot just one step forwards. You can have your knees soft and then drop down and touch towards your left toes. Once you get your hands as low as you can comfortably, you can soften your knees as much as you need to. Have your hands to the ground, even fingertips onto the ground. And you're going to think about your right hip. We're going to bring your right hip up and open and down and closed. And that will just adjust your stretch. By lifting the hip up, you'll feel the stretch to the left hamstring a bit more. By dropping it down, you'll feel it to the outside of the left leg. So we're just opening and closing the hip. And you're breathing. And we'll slowly come back up from that. Bring your left foot back, and we'll bring the right foot forwards. And again, same again, so knees are as soft as you need them to be to bring your fingers to the floor. And then straighten your knees out as much as you can, and then we'll lift your left hip up, drop your left hip down. Just making those little tiny movements through the hips. Then we'll change the stretch through that right leg. And breathe with it. And we'll come all the way back up from that. Bring your right foot back, and we're going to drop down onto your hands and knees. Check your hand position. Make sure you're not too far up so your shoulders are bunching up. You want your shoulders to be squeezing down your sides. You've got a really nice long neck. And once you've sort of watched the move, you're going to keep your eyes to the mat. So make sure you're not looking up to the opposite wall. You just want to keep a nice long neck. We're going to arch your back into an angry cat stretch. And then drop down, open sit bones, open chest. Just loosen up in the spine. And make this however feels useful for you. So you can really make it strong, like you're wrapping around a beach ball on both sides. So you're touching it with your forehead, touching it with the tops of your legs, and then touching at the back of your head and your tailbone. Or you can just kind of flow through with the breath. So you're not really squeezing the muscles on either side, you're just moving the spine. And find your breath with it. So it should all be flowing pretty easily. Now we're going to hold in the center. Tummy's in, strong through your shoulders. Bring your right foot up. Look to your toes on the right side, and then look to your toes on the left side. So we're just doing a side to side with the spine. Remember that your belly button's still in, so make sure your back isn't dropping. Just breathing out to your foot, breathing in across, and breathing out to your foot. And we'll change to the other foot. We'll bring your toes up and look to your toes, breathing out, breathing in across, and breathing out. And again, strong through your tummy. do one more on each side. And then back into center. Check your hand position, check your knee position. We're gonna tuck your tailbone a little tiny bit, and we're gonna push your opposite hand, opposite knee on the mat as hard as you can, and opposite hand, opposite knee. So visually, nothing is happening. Internally, lots of work. And this is one after you have just checked the screen, you're gonna keep your eyes to the mat. Think about as you're pushing with your hand, you're squeezing down the armpit. Get a little tuck through your tailbone. If you want to make it a little bit harder, you can, as you're pushing, you're gonna try to make the opposite rib and opposite hip a little bit closer together, but just like a tiny, tiny bit. Visually, not much, but internally, a big difference. So you're really encouraging that like burning X across your stomach. And to avoid feeling this too much in the wrist, obviously you are stretching your hand out quite a bit. Make sure that your fingers are really stretched out and you're pushing with your fingertips as well. If this move kills you, and sometimes I forget to give you the variation, you can always do it on your elbows. I do like to encourage a little bit of work on the hands as much as you can stand it. So don't jump to the elbows straight away. Give your hands a chance to get a bit of a stretch and a bit of a work. We're going to keep the move going. You're going to bring your hands closer together. If you're on your elbows, you can try squeezing them together a little bit, but you won't be able to move too much through it, so you'll probably just keep doing the same move. But if you're on your hands, bring those hands right together under your chest. And you'll feel like you're working more in that center space, just between the bottom of your rib cage. And the harder you push, the harder you're working. Opposite hand, opposite knee. And we'll bring your hands back under your shoulders. Bring your knees nice and wide. Let's push back into a child's pose. Give yourself a second to stretch. Sit nice and heavy onto your heels. Stretch those hands out. You can kind of move your weight side to side. See if you can bring your hands a little bit wider than the mat. So same child's pose, just wider hands. And see how that feels through the shoulders. And bring your hands back forwards into the center. Come all the way back, hands under your shoulders, knees are under your hips. You want a little bit of space to reach. We're going to stretch your right hand out, swing it around, and then back down. And then the left hand. Stretch, swing it around, and back down. So we're going to try to keep on the same level. So we're just not reaching, not adjusting through the chest as well. So you're not lifting your chest at all. You're keeping your eyes still focused on that center spot on the mat. And you're breathing. Feel that nice core strength clicking on. We're going to do one more on each side. And now we're going to change. We're going to go into your circle. So this time you're going to start pointing your chest. So we're going to reach that right hand out, rainbow it up and around. Look to your hand as you circle, and then change to the other side. Big stretch, circle around, and change. Keep those hips as stable as you can. By keeping your hips stable, you're really focusing that twist through the torso and the movement in your upper back. And if it's not too painful on your neck, you're still watching your hand. But obviously, make adjustments as you need. We're going to do one more on each side. And last one. And then And back into center. Still hands under your shoulders, last little bit here. We're gonna take your right hand, you're gonna have your palm pushing it back up behind you. So your palm is facing the ceiling here. Push the air and then float it back down. And alternate. Push. You are resisting this because it's not too challenging if you just lift your arm up. So I want you to think about keeping that tension like you're holding a weight. You're keeping your tummy strong. Keep that tuck through your tailbone. Make sure your back isn't dropping. And now we're going to start adding your opposite leg in. So I'm lifting my left hand and my right leg back. And change. Now with this one, if you are having little back problems, any lower back issues, you want to keep your leg low. So you still keep that tuck through your tailbone. So this is where I want you to be if your back is feeling vulnerable. If it's not, you feel like you want to take it bigger, you can really stretch up, like you're going into like nice extension with your back. But just choose the move that feels like it's gonna help you. Back safety is priority. And either side, either one that you choose, you're keeping a lot of tension. So the legs are really strong no matter how high you're lifting them. Arm is really strong. You're going to continue breathing with each move. Let's do one more on the other side. And then drop down into your child's pose. Stretch out. Let your hands stretch out nice and far. You can sort of move side to side. And we'll come up from that. We're going to swing your legs around in the front. Give your wrists, actually, we're not giving your wrists a break. I'm really sorry. We will do that lovely wrist stretch at the end for a quick second. Give your wrists a little circle before we go back into more wrist work. Sitting it nice and strong, you're going to bring your hands behind you. So my fingers are pointing in. Excellent. We're going to bend your elbows, lower your elbows to the ground, and then push your arms back straight. Excellent. Really strong through your tummy. Think about nice open collarbones. Keep this move going. If you want to make this more challenging, you're going to drop down, and as you crunch up, you're going to bring one leg up into tabletop. And we'll alternate. And so I'm breathing out here, breathing in to lift, breathing out to tap, breathing in to lift. Really strong through your tummy. One more on the other side. And hold sort of in the middle. Excellent. Drop those shoulders down. Have your elbows just floating as low over the ground as you can. Excellent. Bring one leg up into tabletop. Bring the other leg up into tabletop. Perfect. We're going to tap one foot down, lift, tap the other foot down. Try to take the strain and the pressure out of your wrists and really put it in the back of your arms. Check that your shoulders are away from your ears. Your tummy should be kind of screaming here. We'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop your feet down and go all the way onto your back. We're going to have your legs into a nice long bend. Take your hands up over your chest. If you want, you can hold the ball. Have a good bit of pressure on it. Squeeze the ball. Try to like squeeze your shoulders right down and away. And then we're going to squeeze your ribs down. And as you squeeze your shoulders and your ribs down, you're going to tuck your chin and curl up. Set the ball onto your knees. Excellent. If you don't have the ball, you can just have your hands onto your knees. We're going to push the ball onto your knees nice and strong, or your hands, And we're going to roll the ball up a bit further and then back down. So remember how we started with this. It was the shoulders pulling down, the ribs pulling down. That's the priority I want you to keep. Once you lose that, take a second, find it again, and then get back into that little crunch up. So we're keeping it tiny. What I want you to think about here is this space dropping down. So imagine you've got like a seat belt anchoring you down to the ground. It's just like a little tiny lift right through that middle space. And it's horrible. If this is bothering your head at all, you can take one hand behind the back of your head for some support. If you are using your hand to support, I'm going to have you change to the other hand. And now let's throw the ball between your knees and go all the way back onto your back. So that little band right there should really be quite tender now. Squeeze the ball nice and tight. Bring your legs up into tabletop. Pinch your toes together. Squeeze the ball. And we're going to push your lower back on tailbone, lift, hold, and then down. Tiny, tiny, tiny. If you feel like your collarbones are sort of tight and engaged, just bring your hands behind your head. With this one, I want you to think pelvic floor as well. So pelvic floor pulling up, everything's working, and then relax. Take a break. And everything's engaged, everything's relaxed. See if you can make it tinier. So whatever you're doing, I want you to make it about half what you're doing now. Tiny, tiny, tiny. So keep the intensity, but visually, I want it to be nothing. We're going to keep the same move going. But if you're okay with your legs stretching, you're going to bring your legs straight up to the ceiling. Think about your knees pulling right up and in, so you're really engaged through the quads. Same thing again. Squeeze and relax. If you want to make this more intense, either if your legs are straight or if they're on tabletop still, you're going to squeeze, hold, squeeze the ball twice, and then drop down. And again, squeeze up, squeeze, squeeze, and down. And lift, squeeze, squeeze, and down. Squeeze, squeeze, down. Lift, squeeze, squeeze, down. Lift, squeeze, squeeze, down. We're going to do 5 more. Lift, squeeze, squeeze, down. 4, squeeze, squeeze, down. 3, 2, and 1. And relax from that. Drop your feet down. Take the ball off the side. Bring your knees into your chest. Rock little circles. And bring your legs back into tabletop. Hands are on your knees. Your legs are just floating in tabletop. Toes are relaxed. You're not flexed. You're not pointed. Just in neutral. I want you to bring your hands onto your knees. Push them as hard as you can. Squeeze down the sides. Squeeze as tight as you can. And relax. And again, squeeze and relax. The harder you push, the harder you're working. I'm going to have you keep this going, but I want you to bring your knees in really close and keep that going. See how that changes. If it feels like it's pinching in your hips at all, just push them back where it's comfortable. We'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you're going to push your legs further away. And again, push. 10, 9, 8, 7, Push your back really heavy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and knees into your chest, little circles on your back. You can circle around separately in the knees. We're going to tap your toes together, circle your knees out and in, out and in. So you're doing a figure 8 over your chest. And we'll reverse. Excellent. Roll onto your side. We're going to make a cozy little pillow with your arm. Have your knees stacked, belly buttons pulled in, and we're going to draw your shoulder circles. So just breathe with this. When you're finding the space that's catching or feel clunking or anything like that, just hold it for a second. Pull your fingers down, give it an extra moment, and slowly circle back through. You can also, any spaces that are catching, you kind of work side to side a bit. And just use this circle or whatever movement you're doing to loosen up any spaces that are stuck. And let's reverse. So again, now we're going in a different direction. Just stop anytime it's catching. Pull your fingers as open as you can, really stretch, and then circle around. Hopefully it's feeling a little bit easier. We're going to bring both of your hands forwards. Take your top knee. If you're happy with your leg position, that's fine. If you feel like you want to really lock in through this twist, you're going to bring your top knee forwards. I like to bring my bottom leg around. So I've used that bottom leg to lock my top leg onto the ground. I'm going to take your top hand, twist open, and try to bring your shoulder onto the floor next to you. I'm just going to shuffle my bottom shoulder forwards a bit more. Just melt into this. If your arm is floating off of the floor, you can take your hand up to your ear, lifting right up, as high up as you can, and then float back down to the side. So there might be spaces in your shoulder that are like catching and clunking. Just go really slowly over those. And don't worry about trying to get to the floor. Just feel like everything's sort of smooth with the movement. Let's give it one more second. And we'll come back through that. Uncross your legs. We're going to flip over to the other side. And do it all again. So you've got that nice little pillow for your head. Knees are stacked, belly buttons in, and we'll start with your shoulder circles on this side. You can circle up, open, and around. And again, just go really slowly over those spaces that are catching. Pull your fingers back. Find that really big stretch in the tendons. Remember to breathe with it as well. And see how the spaces on the right side compare to the spaces on the left side. Which shoulder feels tighter? How's your mobility? All of that. We're going to reverse the circle. And now we're going in a different direction. Still take your time. Give a little hold anytime it's catching. Stretch your fingers out. Really breathe into it. And we're going to come out of that. We'll take your bottom hand out. Take your top knee forwards, and if you like, you can wrap that bottom leg around just to lock them down. You're going to shuffle your bottom shoulder forwards and then open your hand up to the side. And then again, you can do that reaching up to your ear and dropping down just to loosen up in the shoulder. Find a really stretched out hand, open palms. Just breathe into the spaces that are feeling tight. This is a nice, I didn't say that on the side, this is a really nice stretch to start your day with before you get out of bed. Just go into this nice little twist, especially if you sleep like curled into a ball. And see if you can melt a bit deeper into it. Just relax into that twist. We're going to slowly come back through that. Uncross your legs and come slowly up to sitting. Excellent. Crisscross your legs or sit into a comfortable position. Whatever's comfortable, is either sitting onto your knees or into crisscross. Palms are on your lap. You're going to roll your shoulders back. Bring your ear to your shoulder. Bow your head down. Chin rolls across your chest. Ear to your shoulder. And again, just keep that going. There's certain stretches, this one's one of them, that I like to do often, just so it becomes really familiar for you. So then, without really thinking about it, whenever you feel like you need this, you'll go to it. Sort of becomes a bit of a habit. When you come out of that, give your shoulders a little move around. And then we're going to go into your little wrist, just to loosen up the wrist. We did a lot on the wrist, that was quite tough. Take your hands out. We're going to stretch your fingers, make a fist. Stretch your fingers, make a fist. Keep your shoulders down. Excellent. Strong through your tummy as well. Why not? You're going to make a fist and you're going to curl your fist in and then drop it down. You really feel the stretch in the forearm and the wrist. And then you can circle around, you can reverse your circle. And you can do that little curl in, circle around. You can combine everything together. Just find the movement in the wrist. So I'm pulling my fist in and then I'm moving side to side. See how that goes for you? Keep those shoulders down and relax from that. If you're not on your knees, come up onto your knees now. This is a really weird stretch. And I'm gonna look like a dope doing it, but I love you guys and we're gonna do it anyways. Lace your fingers behind your back, your palms are facing in. You're gonna stretch your hands really far away. Pull your collarbones open. I want you to push your nose as far away as you can. And then pull it back in. And push. And pull. So this one, we're trying to strengthen the space that gives you that like holding a cell phone hump. That's what this is for. And now we're going to swing your arms forwards, lace your fingers together, push your palms away, pull your shoulder blades apart, and then do the same thing again. You should feel a lot of work in that upper back and shoulder space. And we'll come out of that. Give your shoulders a little roll around. Little head circles. Bow your head side to side. Bring your hands next to the sides. Curl your toes under and come all the way out to standing. Have your heels under your knees. Knees are under your hips. Deep breath in. Peel all the way down and touch to your toes. And then breathing in all the way back up. Shoulders back, chest is open, and you guys are done. Nice work.